Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're keeping the Go train going. So, and also the bot thing. Thanks everybody for the follows. Began, thanks for the raid. This is always fun. I love getting more gophers in here. So, we're going to be working on this Go bot I've been working on. And we've already introduced a few commands to control OBS through the bot. Anybody who's been following along already knows this. We'll have fun here in a second. I've introduced a couple of commands here where we can do deep, high-pitched robot, and it applies effects to my voice through OBS. And we've been doing a little bit of refactoring there. We added a new command last time where we could do a k-thanks bye, and it will shut down my stream. I'll let everybody close it out at the end for that. Today, let me pull up my app here. I have a bunch of hue lights in here, and I put a couple here in camera that you can see. And we are going to see whether we can control these through our bot as well. Oh, look at that. Zanus already trying. All right, here. We'll do it off the bat. Are we in the right directory? All right. All right, here we go. Hit me.
Yes, I did comment out the k-thanks bye so that nobody could shut this
down. See, it is not in the list of allowed commands. All right, are the effects being applied? Am I a robot? All right, we're gonna jump out of there. And anybody who's coming over from Began's channel, anything that was confusing about packaging or anything else like that with Go, I am more than happy to answer along the way. And we can sideline a little bit for understanding Go. I know a lot of you are new to Go, so I'm more than happy to do that. Okay. So let me pull up the browser here. And I have a bunch of these Philips Hue lights. I'm hoping everybody's kind of already familiar with those. But we're going to search GitHub for a library I know that I have seen. Search. All right, this is going to give us all languages. Go is not listed here, so we're going to cheat. We're going to click Python. And we're going to change that query parameter to Go. Thanks for the follow, Eden Games. And Crypto Lake and Voxelholic. Okay. I think this is the one I've looked at before that looked the most promising because, yeah, it has a logo, so it has to be a good library, right? I'm still a robot. Okay, 1 second. All right, I'm back. No longer a robot. That's interesting because last stream we introduced some functionality here that would wait for a signal. We trap the signal, we catch it, and then we disable our filters. Deep is so soothing. Or demonic, depending on the way you look at it. All right. So, let's start looking at this. Again, throw out any Go questions that you have along the way. We have a little bit of more refactoring to do. I did a quick survey. Everybody said they wanted to see us playing with hue lights first. So then I guess we'll look at more refactoring. Thanks for the follow, Puts Joe. So we're going to go ahead and just import this. And see where we can get here. Hopefully it's not trashed like our first Twitch IRC library that we were using. And there is an interesting thing that we're going to need to do first. So we need to authenticate with the bridge. So all of these lights talk to a bridge device that's sitting over here in my office. So the first thing we need to do is discover the device and then authenticate with it, which will require me going over there and pressing a button to link it. And then from that point on, we should be able to keep connecting to it. Now the question is, when we create the user, I'm assuming that we're going to want to keep this and store it somewhere so that future times we start the application that we're not going to have to keep doing the discovery bits. Will you do GoTime yet? Again, so there are some new hosts on GoTime that are really awesome. I may pop in and do an occasional episode with everybody, but I probably won't be on there, regularly. It was a lot of fun. Actually doing this live streaming makes me remember how much I miss interacting with everybody, doing the podcast and interacting with everybody in Slack. And I actually find this a lot more fun because I can pull stuff up on the screen and show you. I find it a lot more interactive. So hopefully this will be the new thing, and I'll just do this daily or most days, and we'll get to interact and we can talk about stuff and show stuff off. All right, so let's look at this. Let's pull up the package documentation for it too to see. Oops, that is not what I wanted. Copied the wrong thing. Okay, so here's Discover. Discover is going to return us back a bridge, and the bridge is going to give us a host and a user. Interesting. Because it looks like we want to create a user. This looks kind of circular, doesn't it? So we've got a Hugo here. We discover it. That returns us a bridge. Then we create the user on the bridge. And what does that return? Ooh, we can even create scenes. So we create users. So the link button on the bridge must have been pressed. Yep, we know all of that. So that returns back a user, which looks like a string. Oh, okay. So bridge is what we're still going to use. That's the context. So create user returns us back the user, but that may not necessarily be the user we want to authenticate with. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so first things first, we'll just hard code this to something in here, and we'll change how to do this stuff later. So we'll call it Hue user, and we'll call that Go Twitch. We still need a better name for this bot too, so everybody throw out ideas. Anybody who gets the winning one gets to use KThanksBye. All right, so in main, we're connecting to Twitch. Let's do it first here. We'll connect to the OBS, and then here we'll connect to the Hue Hub. So, what was our logic? Get light 3. Alright. So, let's change this to our Hue user. We should really do some better error handling here. So Aaron Schlesinger here, AR Schles in the chat, volunteered to help me refactor this to get it cleaner if I spent more time adding features and less time cleaning it up and abstracting it and testing it. All right. we're just gonna, I will log it. I volunteer as a tribute. Nice. So, what's everybody's experience with Go here? Are we mostly beginners? Are we seasoned gophers? What am I missing here? Undefined Hugo. That import statement is gone. We need to update our Go mod file too. Oh, speaking of our Go mod file, we had this replace statement here. They did accept our pull request, so that's already in there. So we can actually remove that later when we get to it. I was actually kind of surprised for a project that doesn't have a lot of maintainership how quickly that came back. And here, let's see what other functions we have. I want to see whether we can get like a list of lights. That will be more convenient. So this discovers the bridge. This is for groups. It's for an individual light. How do we just get a list of them? That discovers all the bridges. And on the bridge, let's see, not create, not delete, find lights. And what does this give us? Success. There's a wrapper struct of the success response returned from the bridge after a successful API call. Well, that's not helpful. What is interface? We may have to go look at some code to figure out what's going on here. Yeah, because we're not going to know what the IDs of our lights are. Well, get lights context returns all lights known to the bridge. That seems like what we want. And then we're going to have to look at... Okay, so this is just a regular context. And we can just do a default. Yeah. Well, I guess let's do it. We'll do a timeout. We need a new... Interesting. Background. That's what I'm looking for. So we'll worry about a timeout later. So we'll get rid of this. We want bridge.getLightContext. We're just going to pass it a context.background for now. This is going to return us back our lights or an error. And then let's just range over our list of lights and print them out and see what we have. Lights, L dot. What did this give us back? Oh. We could also get groups, but is there rooms in here? I'm guessing that a room is a group. And then we have individual scenes, but we'll play with all that stuff here. Let's get to changing some light colors first. So, where did our get lights context go? Oh, we we also have get light, so we don't need to pass it a context. I didn't see that to begin with. Here's our light. We have a name and then the ID. Let's print those out. So I think that's what it was. ID and L dot name. Okay. Let's see, with any luck, this is going to link button not pressed. Okay, I totally forgot about that. So we actually only need to do this create user once. So the other thing we should do here is I think we want to put this as a sub command so that we can do something like go Twitch Q link or something of this nature, so that we can do the linking process first when the bot's not running. So it's sort of like a setup. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to run over to my Hue bridge over here and hit the link button. Okay, we've hit it, and let's see whether this works. All right, perfect. So we are connected, and here is a list of the devices that we have. I'm going to exit out of that before people start playing with my voice again. So this sounds really weird. Why are these named this way? And it's just based on, this is the exterior wall of the house where my office is and which side of the room it is, because there's, you know, basically 6 lights around that surround the office. Then this Hue desk lamp is this crazy thing behind me right here. I named it bowl because it looks kind of like a bowl. That's what that thing is there. And then I also have some up lights over here as well. So a couple of them that look interesting. Let's just take note of these. We want 9 and we want 11, which is that, and also the bulb in this thing. We can't change its color, but we can dim it. So that one is the Hue lamp bulb. So 9, 10, and 10's the least interesting of them. Hey, that noob. Hey, Frank. I'm going to be on Frank's stream on Monday doing some container stuff as well. All right, so we have our IDs. Let's now, we don't need this anymore. So for now, we're going to put this here and then we'll turn it into a command. So once we have this, we can ask for, oh, we don't need this either. That reminds me, we should probably turn that into a subcommand too, so that we can get a list of IDs. We should, at this top level here, we should create a directory and we're going to call it Hue. And we should probably put some commands in here for doing this once we kind of get this done. But first, let's play. Bot name Hugo, like Hugo. Yeah. So, well, this also does things like control OBS as well. So this is I'm gonna keep linking this to as many things as we can think of. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it. So it's really kind of like a Twitch bot and playing off that name. Yeah, on the Microsoft developer channel, correct. So I'm gonna have to look up that code again here in a second, but for now, we don't need to log into the bridge anymore because our user, or do we? Let's take all this code and move it for a second. We're going to use this later. We're going to create a few commands. So let's just create this now and we'll call it hue.go. And we're not going to worry about what we're doing with this right this second. So what we'll do is we'll just copy all this code over that gets all of our lights and lists them. We're going to want to save this for later. And we're going to have a lot of cleanup here, prioritizing features. And then the other thing we need to do is the login. I don't think we have to do the login unless we're just... No, we need to do the login. It's the create user we don't need to do. So we're going to put this here. We're going to create additional commands that will run on the command line for registering this. But first, we need color. We need an electric buzzer. You are cruel. I mean, we could set up a little water pump and actuator where I give you the ability to squirt me in the face with water. That'd be pretty funny. Okay, so wait. User. Okay, so we discovered the bridge. We may want to change this too so that you can supply your own bridge and then maybe default it to Discover if you don't supply the IP address of the bridge. But let's start playing with these lights. So once we have the bridge, we can get light, I think it was. Yep, get light. And we can ask for it by ID. So get light number. Which one was the rod? Was it 11? No. Yeah. And then I know there was an off. And then we could just have it time.sleep for, I don't know, 5 seconds. And then turn it back on. And then how do we change the color? Alert. Ooh, the alert makes the light blink in its current color. Does it do it for just a set period of time is the question. The light is not performing an alert effect. The light is performing one breath cycle. Interesting. Okay. Okay. BRI sets the brightness. This is the color temperature. Let's see. And then we have hue. Who wants to do math on what color you want? I want to see what an alert looks like. We'll turn it back on, and then let's do an light alert. And then we'll see what happens. Not enough arguments in call to light alert. New string. Supported values are none. Select. The light is performing what? Oh, okay. And L select for 15 seconds. Let's try select first. Ooh, and we got a stack trace. Invalid memory address or nil pointer dereference. Where? So now the question is, do we have an issue with that library itself? So this is on line 77. Oh. Oops, we wanted to print that error. and turn it off after. Still got a stack trace. Let's see. Unauthorized user. Interesting. Well, we already created the user, right? So do we need to, we did the login. Do we need to do the create user every time? That would seem strange. Oh, wait, login takes... Login takes a string and returns back the bridge. Okay, that makes sense. And we pass it a string for the user. And that user should have been created. All right, let's try and do this create user again. And see if that works. But I don't see why we would need to create the user every time. All right, 2 seconds and I will link this again. I guess I needed a stick, huh? Logged in, no authentication required. Oh, are we blinking? Is that what happened? I don't see it. Can you see this in here? Okay, so I don't see it. We didn't print an error there, so let's do this. Does light off return an error? That's for the group, that's for the light, it does. Eric bot dev, nice, nice. Yes, I think that's the winner so far. Let's see if this is gonna return an error. We're gonna have to abstract all of this stuff out. Change that to on. Yay, verbose error handling. Alert. And select. Link button not pressed. Well, it's saying no authentication required. What did we do? I want to know what this returns. User. My assumption is it's the same username that we passed it, but I could be wrong. Has anybody here automated their hue lights yet? So that's returning blank. So that's... I think this is just because... Oh, the authentication required is for the WebSocket. Does anybody have hue lights? I have Wiz, also Philips lights, which don't require the controller. Oh, cool. Are they Bluetooth? What are they? Z-Wave, Zigbee, something? Why? Why oh why? We don't want to have to press the link button every time we run the bot. That would be really annoying. I feel like this should pass us back something. Let's just... All right. I'm going to hit the button one more time because this will at least tell us what that's passing us back. It potentially passes us back something, a unique thing that we're using that is not actually this username. So let's do that one more time and see what it passes us back. Had I known I'd have to do this so many times, I would have reinstalled the thing next to me. Okay, okay. It does. I was right. So it gives us back a unique key, and that's what we need to use. So now we shouldn't need this code anymore. Did I leave that in there? Yeah, I left it creator. Okay. Now you can go away. And this can become your user. Now we should be able to connect to it. And the light's off. I think we can see it. The light is on. And then we should see our alert. What's it do for alert? I don't see it blinking. Haven't done anything low level with them. It's on your list. Yeah, I love playing with gadgets and finding creative ways to use them. I actually think this is going to be really, really cool to play with. I really want to set it somewhere and do the alert thing. I think that would be really cool. We can make it do fun things. If I break a build or something like that, you can make it flash red on me or something like that. This will be fun. So that didn't work. What were our other options? There was select, and then there was another one. Was it L select? L select. So let's get rid of all of this off on stuff, and we'll just do the alert and see what happens. Everybody get your colors ready too, because we need to change the color. So need L select. You know what I did not think of? This entire time, I have allowed all of the commands to be available to you all, and nobody has messed with me yet. Did we see it doing anything? Oh, there we go. Now it's blinking. Do we see it? Oops. I need a good location for it that's not blocked by my camera. Oh, I got an idea. Here we go. Oh, it's not visible there either. All right, how about now? Are we good? I'll scoot over. Okay. I wanted to put it up on the shelf, but the plug is down further. I should have tried to figure that out earlier. Well, here we go. Let's do this. Being that that one is harder to see, this one behind me seems to always be in frame. So let's play with that one. That was number 10. So nobody used KThanksBye. That one I was smart enough to disable as soon as the stream ended last time because I knew I would forget and I knew I would turn the bot on. And for anybody who wasn't here for the last stream, the KThanksBye command actually allows you to stop my stream. Okay, so that's that bulb. So then it was really number 11 that we wanted. There we go. Now we're alerting. Yeah, Poo Poo the Gorilla, it was pretty funny. I actually gave everybody the ability to do it, and I'm sitting there waiting for everybody to end the stream, and nobody would do it. They had the power, and they didn't want to use it. Okay, so now let's change the color. So we need to figure out the math on what color we want. So that was what our values were. I'm surprised this library does not have a way to do that. No. 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 No color temperature. Yeah, you'd think that it would do the maths or have like a lookup table so that we could at least say, oh, we want blue, right? So somebody have a quick calculator for us. RGB to UINT. We want color from RGB to decimal. All right. It gives us a color swatch, but we can't pick it. Now we need a color picker without me opening up like Photoshop or something. Oh, I might have one installed here. Color management. No, I thought I had one installed. It might be on. There we go. So we need like a red. There we go. That'll work. 250, 57, 57. So 250, 57, 57. And this is what we want in decimal. And then I guess we'll just, I don't like putting this up here, but we'll, I mean, we could use like an enum or something here, but we're just going to do color red for now. All right, and then we should be able to white dot const. Yeah, I mean, a const would work too. Oops, not that one. Okay, so we need to change the color first. And what was the command for that? I think it's just color, right? No. That's the color temperature. Hue. Hue is the... okay. So we want to change the hue to our color red. Whole lot of fumped print lines in here. It overflows uint 16. So, I mean, we should be able to have, we should be able to, no, that does overflow because I remember the package saying, yeah, 0 to 65,535. So that's a uint 8. No, that's a uint 16. Doing math stinks. Let's just pass in something. What color is 65,000? Oh, it's that one. Look at that. We're flashing red. We should also do, we should do both lights too. I guess it just does it for 15 seconds. Perfect. We don't even have to put a timer on that. We can just use it just the way it is. I like it. All right. Is there anything else we would like to do to this hue light, or do we want to do some abstracting where we start pushing this stuff out into commands? I think this is starting to get kind of messy now. So this is where we're going to run our bot command out of. We can forget about that for now. We should probably also have like a config somewhere that we both read from and write to, which would include the key for the user. So we can either have a kind of a command that we run here that's, you know, ericbotdev hue link, and this would link us, and then we could store that in a dot file so that we can use it later, which gets a little tricky trying to make this cross-platform. Or we could have HueLink return back the value that I ended up printing out, and then we use that for our config file. Let's go with that first. That's the easier of the approaches. And then does anybody have any other ideas for things we should make this bot do that we can start working on? Okay, let's see. These are individual libraries. We should probably have a Twitch directory here too. Oh, that's a file and not a directory. We want up here at this level. Twitch. We'll shift all of our logic that we've been doing for Twitch and reading the chat and all of that. We'll start pushing that up into that directory. OBS will be for everything that controls OBS. Hue will be for everything that controls the hue lights. And then this command directory will represent how we set all of these things up. You should design with combinations in mind, lights, voice, and scene triggered from one command. Yeah, that's sort of the thought as we kind of experiment with all of these individual things, then individual commands, or we'll listen for things like raids or follows and be able to do something like start strobing all of the lights in here. In fact, that is actually something that we can do. Let's play with that before we start organizing this. So we know how to turn lights on and off. We know how to get the individual light. Now we can actually get the list of groups. This will be interesting because I have these things linked. So I have one bigger group, which is all of the lights in my office, including those. Then I have a smaller group, which is just accent lighting, like one of them fell over here so you can't see it, but coming up behind that monitor are some lights, these two, and then I have some rope lighting and stuff like that. After I reorganize my office this weekend, you'll get to see all of that. So we'll have lots of lights to play with. Those are all called accent lights. They're in their own group. So we can kind of control them all as one or independently. So let's look at the group and see how we can interact with those. So groups. Is it get groups? Get groups. I don't know why I want to keep hitting tilde. Spit the error out. What am I missing? Why are you yelling at me? Invalid type. Oh, because it's not used. That's why. So let's range over that. And then what does it return? We get a slice of groups. We get the state. Then we get the list of lights. Ooh. Oh, but we can't alert the entire group. Okay, perfect. Can we set the hue on the entire group? We can set the hue on the entire group. So let's just print out the list of groups for right now. And are we getting that by ID as well? We might need to create a bunch of helper commands to help people do their configuration. Get group. Right. Okay. So yeah, so we're either going to have to supply the group by name and then iterate over it to find the ID, which we could do, or we need to create helper commands for people to be able to run so that they can determine what the IDs are. Hey, I'm new to coding and I started to learn C language, but I found it's way too old and no one is using it anymore. What do you recommend for me to learn? I'm willing to work as a software engineer in the future. So that's actually a really difficult question to answer. C actually is used a lot still by, especially by embedded developers. Any kind of embedded device you have is written in C and C++ almost exclusively. Operating systems are written in C and C++. It is used for a ton of things still. There are people using other languages for things like web and things like that. So the question you really have to ask yourself when determining what language you want to use is, what do you want to build? That's really where you're going to narrow down. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands of languages you can choose from at this point. So, you know, if you want to do front end development, you're going to want to learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS, right? If you want to build a game, right, there's going to be a particular set of languages, C++, C#, things like that, that you're going to see used over and over again. If you want to do back-end development, Go, Ruby, Python. If you want to do statistical and science-based things, Python has a lot better ecosystem. It's not necessarily the language is suited for it. That's just where those people, those particular groups of people found a home and wrote all of the libraries around. So try to narrow down the types of things you want to build, and then we can help you figure out a language that is suited for that. Okay, get groups. Let's spit out our name. I hope that answered your question. Group declared and not used. Groups declared and not used. I ranged over it here. Wait a second. Groups. Groups. Oh, we didn't save it. Okay, so here we go. We have office. I don't know why there's two office groups. And then we have my accent lights and the ceiling lights. So let's print out the IDs here too, because that's what we really want. Although I think the better approach might be when we move to the config file to just you name it by name, and then we'll complain if we don't find it. All right, so I don't know why there's two offices. So let's find out. We're going to blink them both. Let's just copy this out of here. And we're going to put this in a comment here just for reference. Okay. And now let's get our very specific group that we want. We're going to look at number 1. And we're going to group dot alert lselect, and we wanted to group dot. We're gonna just copy this here real quick. We're gonna change the hue. Huge. All right. And 65,000 was a good color. Now, light declared not used. Oh, because we're still up here trying to select an individual light. We don't really care about that anymore. All right, that seems to be every light in my office going off now. I think that this would make the perfect raid. Oh, this is too fun. All right, we need more colors. It is like a siren. So I found a cool audio track I really want to use too. I have an idea for this raid thing, and it's almost like a techno siren-y sounding song that I want to play in the background for raids, and that would be awesome. Okay. So what else do we have? The other thing, I guess we could change the color temperature of that. We could also dim it. We didn't see that, right? That's with the context. That's the brightness. Okay, and that's a uint8. Okay. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I think it might be better for us to start organizing some of this into reusable logic. Right now we have like a really messy main and things just sort of scattered all over from our experiments, and it might be useful to start trying to get this really cleaned up into a project that's worthy of being put on GitHub. Because only the most quality code is put on GitHub. We all know this, right? Okay. Let's start thinking about... Did you hear quality? You did, Rocker Boo. If you ever need a really, really quality library to use and ridiculously secure, GitHub is where you get it. Even better if you find a link to Pastebin somewhere with the code in it. Or in Stack Overflow. So that would be the ordering. Stack Overflow first, Pastebin second, and then GitHub. And for any new programmers here, I'm being entirely sarcastic. Please don't trust code you find on the internet. SourceForge too, yes. Or what was that site? There was a code something, and it just had zip files on it, and people were putting all kinds of viruses on there too. Now I can't remember what that site was. I don't remember. Okay. So let's start designing this in a cleaner way. Now the question is, should we leave this directory the way it is as reference, or and kind of start over, or should we refactor it from here? I think both are possible. So I personally think the order that this should go, let's see. Yeah, then message your URL here and prepare to be hacked. Everybody gets SSH access into my house. Okay, so I think, let's think about how we need to organize this. So we need to start pushing these things into their individual directories and the abstraction similar to how we did OBS. And then we also need to work on the configuration file I talked about last week. So one of the things I talked about last week is Oops, we don't want to have to keep modifying the code every time we come up with like a new use for all of this functionality. We want this to be sort of like an exhaustive list of functions that can be called. I think it would be better though for people to be able to install this bot and look at, you know, I don't know, ericbot dot, I don't know, JSON, right? CNET. Any one of those sites that has 16 download buttons, and you have to try to figure out which one is the real download button and which is the spyware. That's totally an awesome place to get it as well. Okay, so here's something that I'm thinking, right? So we might have something like Hue user, right? Let's start. I actually think this might be cool to think about right now. So we have our Hue user, and this would be that unique identifier. Oops. So we have that, and then we might have something like commands here, and that would be an array. And inside our commands, we might have our first one, which would be the name. And this might be robot, right? And then what do we want that to do? What am I missing here? Oh, because that. Why are you yelling at me? Is it really just yelling at me because of that? But why are you yelling at me? Let's see. And then you download the actual thing and it installs spyware as part of the installer. Exactly, exactly. Probably adds a browser toolbar to remember those. They still exist. They still exist, and they change your homepage, and then you're like, why did I download that thing? Okay, so why? Oh, weird. I guess it just hadn't caught up with me yet. Oh yes, everything changed your default start page. Yep, exactly, exactly. Okay, so this is sort of what I'm thinking. So this would be the list of commands that could be run. And then we need a commands here. I don't want to call it that, though. So everybody help me come up with what this is. So up here is the command that's actually available. So this is what everybody would say in the chat. And then this is the list of things it could run, right? Because we might want multiple. We'll get out of the JSON format here. But let's just say, you know, this would be change hue group color hue alert. These would be the actual features that we're going to call. Description would also be good too. So description, change voice to robot, right? So this would be that. We'd also want to apply filter to OBS source. And inside of here would basically be the configuration for each of those. And I think that this would make a really interesting project because then you wouldn't necessarily have to know how to code to do this, but you could still get creative with what your commands are. JSON's, you know, not the most intuitive if you're not a programmer, but it's manageable. So this is sort of my thought for how this could end up working. And then we would just continue to add folders here with potential things that you could communicate with. And then, yeah, I really like the idea of doing this, because then this command could run multiple, would it be a feature? Functions. Subcommand. Well, a subcommand I would think of is like a nesting of commands. So a Twitch bot Hue login. The login would be a subcommand of Hue. So I don't really think it's a subcommand so much. Commands should be described in the code. So Rocker Boo, so that's sort of what I'm thinking, right? If you look at our main.go, we would have to have all of this logic. And then every time you wanted to add a new command, you would have to go in here and add it to the list of allowed commands and configure how many points it costs and all of these things, right? And 90% of what you're doing probably is not going to be doing that. It would be, you would want to come in here, let's say cost, right? And this is 5,000 points or something. Maybe there's a list of conditions that have to be met in order for this to be ran. But let's say the command itself was just playing a sound and displaying something over your stream. Do you really want to go in and modify the code and compile it and maybe even redeploy it somewhere just to display a different image? I don't really think so. I think it'd be more versatile if we could use this sort of declarative API to define what the commands are, what we're calling them, how much they cost, conditions needing to be met to be ran, and then we go in the code every time we need to introduce a new thing, right? So maybe you don't have hue lights, you have something else. Well, then you go into the code and you teach the code how to talk to that thing. So you define the mapping in the JSON and having command options function signature. Right. So that's exactly what I'm thinking, because I like the idea of doing this, that I don't need to modify the code to introduce a new command that does 99% of what another command does. It just changes which MP3 it plays or something, right? That seems like a bad design that requires me to go back, and it's not reusable for other people. Then the bot framework that I end up building and I deploy to GitHub, you would have to go through and refactor the crap out of to use on your own stream because it's so tied heavily to mine. So I like the idea of doing this. And then prime example, right now we don't have a way to play media files. Well, we could just add a media library here and then introduce a new command that people could use, or subcommand or function, or I don't know what we call it, but that's sort of the thought. Action. I like it. There we go. That's what we're going to call these. Now, the other way we could do this is we could put an embedded JavaScript interpreter or Lua into the bot, and then you could write your own bot commands using that abstracted language. So I leave it to the audience. How do you think we should define how our bot behaves? Our Go code is going to implement all of the possible actions available and communicating with the protocols and all of those things. How do we want to implement the user configuring how their bot will behave. Because we can introduce all kinds of things here so that you can just have a command that says project, and then the action is just to say in the Twitch channel, it's to priv message the channel, this is what the project is. I like the idea of having an implementation of various actions and having a configuration of commands mapped to those actions, because your commands could pass parameters to the actions. Right, so the individual actions would have that, right? So we would have the action name be, you know, hue, group, color, or something, right? And then it would have like maybe a config property or something that only that action knows how to handle. Right, exactly, Rocker Brew. So that's sort of what I'm thinking, is you could have that. Now, we could use something like highly verbose, like this JSON stuff, and that would work for 90% of the use cases. And then we could even implement these conditions, which allow you to kind of do comparisons and things like that. So I don't know, like, how do we say user must be follower or subscriber or subscriber for n months, right? We would want to look at some of those types of things. And now the question is, does this get too complicated as a giant JSON config for how this is going to behave? And I'm trying to picture this like a full bot configuration. Does it get too confusing, and do people want to implement it in a language? And so we could take a quick look at Lua. And so Lua is really, really common for scripting game engines. So people learn to write this stuff, and we could almost have a small little DSL that we expose. Learning. Just show me an example. Reference manual. Just show me an example of Lua. Here we go. So we can have this very, very small kind of thing, and we can abstract away a lot of the language. Lots of stuff can generate a JSON file, though. That is correct. So if somebody wanted to build a front end for this, where you could drag and drop and configure things and then spit this out, and it's only read by the command, that would be even better, right? Because it doesn't really matter how big and nested it is. Though, by doing this, we do limit the types of things, right? Each type of conditional statement we would have to implement as a new condition. So we'd have to implement a greater than one, a less than one, things of that nature. We'd have to just thinking. We'd have to have like a downward API as well to pass in things like that, like who the user is, how long they've been following, things like that. So if you don't have conditionals, you just wouldn't have this. Thanks for the follow, NianoCat. So yeah, so this whole section here would be if you decided to add conditions. If you had no conditions on it, then it would just allow the person. Jennifer, you just now following me? Busted. So since the commands would have arguments, you would get the user info from the message. So I would just add it as an argument to the function through the ops. So that would, but it'd still be the same thing. You would have to describe the conditional, right? So let's just go down here and look at what that would look like. You'd have to do something like the condition would be something like this. It'd be type less than, right? It'd be a weird way to program things. Yeah, so if you do it that way, then you're still writing code, right? If we did this whole subscribe greater than 9 string, we would have to parse that somewhere and actually tokenize it and understand what it really means. And so that gets a little more difficult. And that's sort of where the question about... So this Vim is actually inside the terminal of VS Code. So let's see. But with Lua, though, we could introduce a very small language. You'd have the ability to loop things. You'd have the ability to do comparisons. You could have variables. So you could have a very, very small surface area of your language. And there are some libraries for Go. So let's go Lua, the one that I used to use. There's a couple of them. So that's Azure's one. I think I've used this one. There's another one I've used as well. Yeah. That's Go binding for the C Lua. Yeah, so this one has sort of like a reflection library. So there's a few of them. We can find which one we want to use. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what the one that I used before. Go Lua interpreter. Was it Shopify's? Let's see. Okay, yeah, so this executes it. And then we have ways of being able to pass functions down so that you call a Lua function, which really calls up into our Go program and executes something. So your Lua, let's see if they have an example of just some example Lua here. So let's just say fibt, right? Fibt doesn't have to be implemented here in Lua. Fibt could be calling up into Go and Go executes it. So this could be like, hey, ask the bot to get me this subscriber's information or something like that. So that's an option. Although then we get right back into programming. And then it begs the question, why are we abstracting it? We're just going to make people program anyway. The other thing we can do is go embedded JavaScript. And there's 2 or 3 different ones that I've used for that. Not EJS. Interpreter. Auto. Auto is one of them. Was it V8? There's another one. I implemented a rules engine once where I had the various filters conditions that could be reused, and each one specified what predicates were available to it, less than, greater than. And so you did all of this. Did you do all of this like defined in something like JSON or YAML, or was this a DSL exposed by Ruby or Lua or something like that? So here's the other thing, right? So if we create this, then we could use auto to do the math and things like that. We'd have to be careful. Yeah, Yeah, so here we could take the virtual machine and set values too. I think not doing conditionals would be fine for a lot of cases right now. It does add complexity, but it is something that we want to think about in our design that eventually we're going to get there. There should be some conditions like how often do you want this command executed? We don't want to necessarily rate limit all commands to be every 30 minutes, right? But maybe there's a specific command of yours that you don't want run every 10 seconds, and you don't want all commands to have to wait every 30 minutes. And so we have those types of scenarios. Are all commands on chat message or on a loop? So currently all commands will be handled by chat message. So that's where we're going to be listening for the command to come in, and then we're going to try to handle them. However, I have commented out here in this main.go another library that we're going to start playing with, this Helix library, and that's going to go out to Twitch and then get notifications for things like if there's a new subscriber, if we're getting rated, and those could also trigger commands. So this is going to actually get pretty complex over time. It won't just be user supplied commands for things, which brings up a question on how this works as well, because now our commands aren't just, I guess we could have another thing called triggers, and our triggers could be things like, we're getting rated. So I think the real question now just becomes, do we do all of this in JSON, or do we start thinking about introducing? So here's another thought. We might be able to combine the two. We might be able to combine the two. Let's see. Because we can do math and things like that here, right? So JSON is JavaScript, right? So if JSON is valid JavaScript, then we could, in theory, allow you to use JavaScript inside of this. And we could expose variables to you. So, just thinking out loud here, if one of our actions was to say, I don't know, the action itself was say, we could in theory say, we're getting rated by, right? That could potentially be possible. Or we could provide the ability to say, provide a function here that returns what we're going to say, right? Or the individual action could take a function. What if my name is system.exit? So that's why we want to use an interpreter here. So the idea here is, let's say, never use Lua for config stuff. Yeah, so Lua is actually really, really common. So if you think about a game engine, there's things like, NPCs and they behave a certain way. Well, you don't have to keep writing all kinds of code. So they have individual functionality, but it's exposed in a very, very small language where it's like, tell this NPC to walk to this location and things like that. And all of the rest of it is handled. So usually the scripting of how those things work will be done in another language. So to answer Quinn's question about system.exit, none of this code is actually executed up in Go. It's executed inside the JavaScript virtual machine. So it only has access to functions we've exposed. So if we look at auto as an example, here we can call, right, we'll just walk through this really quick. So we call auto.new. That gets us this VM variable. What the VM variable is a JavaScript runtime. Now, in that, we're calling run and we're executing this JavaScript. We're not really doing anything. The result isn't even being put anywhere. Now, in here, now we're calling into the JavaScript runtime and saying, get me the value of the ABC variable. And then we can use that for something, right? In here, we're setting a variable inside the JavaScript runtime so that the JavaScript code being executed, if it looked at this def variable, would see 11. Same thing for string. This is to evaluate just an expression if we just want to look at its length. And so now this is where it starts getting interesting. So here is where we can add a say hello function inside of JavaScript. And when you call that JavaScript function, it will execute this Go code. So set a Go function that returns something useful. Okay, so in this particular case, it's returning back the auto.value. And this is, okay, so this is if we, so this logic is if we just want to use the parser as part of auto, if we want to parse the abstract syntax tree. That's a mouthful. I don't think we want to do that. Halting problem. If you want to stop long-running executions like third-party code, you can use the interrupt channel to do this. Okay, so we would probably want to wrap that. Why not use text template? So text template would work if we just want to parameterize stuff, where we want to pass some values down that are used inside of something that's coming back to us. But that doesn't quite get us what we want as far as being able to do conditional statements and things like that. So, I think we may be able to just start with the JSON. We might be able to just, who was it earlier? Rockerboo that gave me sort of like the math inside of here. Right? So I can't. So we could return, 2 plus 2. We could use the interpreter up at the action processing level to execute that and see what the resulting thing is. And we could pass parameters down so that your code would have access to it. Okay, what if my name, oh no. It has if though, right? It does have if. It does have if. Random and unrelated, but have you checked out Plush, different kind of template language for Go? Oh yeah, that's part of Go Buffalo. Yeah, I have looked at that as well. Did we just open it? Yeah. Let's see. Oh right, yeah. So this almost has a Lua style to it as well, but for templating. Looks like PHP to you. It looks a lot. It looks a lot like Lua to me. So I feel like JavaScript might be an easier thing, especially if we're talking about beginners. Well, so again, we're only going to get the opportunity to parse the template once, right? And then we're going to be able to do substitution. So if you put this placeholder inside your config I'm going to fill it. Well, that's only one time, right? We're taking this and then we're filling in placeholders for you. And that might be great for a couple of things, but that doesn't give us what we want when, say, this is just going to iterate over our config and determine what things we're going to start listening for, what commands we're going to start listening for when we see them, what actions are we going to take. So we really need something a bit more advanced than that, because at the point, it's not at the point where we process the template that's the problem. The problem is, okay, I consume this on startup. I build my list of commands that are available to me. And then I start listening in chat. I recognize that this looks like a lot like a command. What command is it? Now I'm going to execute it. Are the conditions met? What actions need to be taken? In what order? Things like that. And I think that... And the whole idea here is I don't think we want to recompile everything. So, okay. Well, I guess that's something for us to ponder for a few. We can do a little bit of refactoring while we think about that. If we all want to start on that, if we can come to an agreement on how we think that should work, I'm happy to start on that work as well. So, vote from the audience. Are we refactoring, or we want to start working on our config logic? I almost think we should start on the config logic too, because there's a couple of things like, where are we getting this list of commands from and things like that. I suppose we could do a struct literal. If you don't want to rebuild, maybe separate the logic in specific Go file, then eval the Go file. The internet come to an agreement. It happens all of the time, Stupak. All of the time. We all agree on everything. There's no bike shedding ever. So here's what I'm thinking. Yeah, let's refactor this out, and then we'll work our way to config. So we don't need all of this bridge logic. We agree to disagree as much as possible. Exactly. So our hue logic... I think we figured all this stuff out. Yeah, I really want to... This is our Twitch client. Do we want to abstract this, or do we want to leave it in main? Because there's not a lot... I mean, there's a lot here, but it's all pretty straightforward. We do have sort of our command processing logic here. This may be okay for now. This is really... We'll have to figure out how we want to handle all of that later. Let's see. Group 1, this is our hue hub. Let's start working on some of our command stuff. We've got root here. What did we decide on the bot name? It was going to be Eric Bot Dev. Twitch bot. Botch works too. I don't think... I mean, that's very specific though. That's going to be like my bot. I think it needs a generic name, because I think we're going to allow everybody to use it. We could call it like Gwitch or something. Bot Eric Dev. Okay, so here's our root. This just executes our root command. In here, we added this server command. That's for us running our bot. So go Eric bot. So the other command we want to add here is, we wanted the hue one, right? So let's create our new file here. And so this command, we're just going to use this for handling our hue stuff. Hue. And this is going to say commands for dealing with or configuring hue lights. And then we're going to want to remove this because hue itself is not going to do anything. Another npm package for the file, streambot, devbot. Keep the ideas coming. All right, so the other thing we want to do too is just like here in this root, we can actually add commands. So what we can do here is inside of, I don't think, we're in the same package, so we're not going to have, we can't have more than one in it. So we also need to hue command. We want to add, what was it? Create user. Hue create user. This is getting really kind of, like, add command. And so in here, GNU bot, I like it. All right, hue create user command. And so this, we're going to say create user. And then we actually need that func. I forget that now. There we go. This is what we want. Okay, so now we also have to look up, because we're going to want to pass some arguments. Because we want very specific arguments. Let's see. So the idea here is, you go away. Yeah, we'll just leave that JSON file there for reference. So the idea here is we want to say, I don't know, Eric bot or whatever we call it. We want to say hue create user, and then we're going to want to say, you know, Eric.dev or whatever we're going to call our app. And then we want to run this, and then it's going to return us back our key that we have hard coded here in main. That's the idea. So let's do that really quick. Let's leave auto up there because I think we want to play with that. So let's see. SPF 13, Cobra, and args, or flags. Where is our list of flags? So these are, so we have persistent flags and stuff like that. So the persistent flags are flags that exist at the root that sort of apply to everything. But we want to, oh, and we can set defaults. So we want to do a string. I always forget the difference between the string var and string var p. Okay. These are two different approaches to assign a flag. A flag can be persistent, meaning that this flag is available to the command it's assigned to, as well as every command under that command. We don't really need that. We want local flags, so it's just flags. So we need that all in our init function. Now, and where's here? We've got way too many files open. Let's start closing some stuff out. I completely forgot about temp.go. There we go, root. So let's separate this out a little bit. So we also want to create user command flags. This is going to get a little on the messy side. Let's see. How do we want to do this? I mean, all right, I got an idea. Here's what we're going to do. So inside our hue thing, we're just going to create a function called init create user. And inside that, we're going to move this stuff. That way all of this is local to our command. Then in here, we're going to have var hue username. Okay, and then here we're giving it a reference to our hue user. User short is u. Our default is empty. User name of user to create on hue hub. Okay, so now we should have our our go Twitch hue create user, and then we should just be able to say, you know, eric.dev or something, right? Now, oh no, we need to pass it our -u. So we can do it this way, or we can assume that they're arguments and we can get them as part of this array, which is also possible. So that's really kind of a preference thing. Because this isn't really a thing that we use all of the time, I think, or it is something that's required every time. I think we should just pass the username. For this one anyway. There may be some other ones that we use. So we need to I'm going to just move this in here too. And then here we're going to call it init create user. No, I guess it would be init hue command. That's what we want to do. And then we'll manage all of that stuff here. Okay, so next step. Is it Monday? Everybody's like awfully quiet today. So we're going to check the length of args. And let's just print that out. I can't remember. I think the command itself comes as a list of that. So let's print that out and see what we get when we run this. I'm working over here. If that were the case, would you have heard what I said? If yeah, so that's my question too. I can't remember whether Cobra strips the command out itself. So our command did not run. Oh, that's because our main function here is doing all of the things still. We need to comment that all out. Okay, and we'll start working our way into implementing it again. So now our main function's only job here is to figure out what subcommand we called and execute it. So now if we build this, we have nothing, so it didn't. So Eric. Perfect. So now as part of our hue thing here, we're going to, wait, let's check if the length of args is equal to 0. We're going to ignore any additional arguments for now. We can do more kind of sanity checking later. If it's 0, we're going to say you must supply a username. So now, and if we don't say it, you must supply a username. Perfect. And we should return. All right, now if we have the username, here is where is our hue logic here? Here's where we want to do the bridge create user. And the fun thing about all of this is that we can actually call this from more than one place. So what we're doing here, hopefully, actually that's really what we want to do, is we want to abstract all of this here. So we can uncomment this for now. Thanks for the follow, Spooky. So inside of our hue package, let's do a func create user. We're just going to abstract this, and we're going to return back a string or error. And I guess we're just wrapping this logic here, really. What was our... There we go. We're going to wrap this, but we might have some other useful things in here. For now, this one kind of looks like, why do you even really need to do that? But I have 3 R's in error. I do have 3 R's in error, and this should actually be error the type. All right, so now back to main.go. We need to remove all of this stuff again. Look at this, Aaron. I'm doing your work for you. You were supposed to help me refactor because of all of our experimentation. So let me know if you think of other ways we should organize this, but for now this is sort of the line of thinking I have. So in here, we need to take our username, and this is going to be a string, and then we're going to here we're going to pass our user, and then here, I guess regardless, we can just return. Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're just returning exactly what they did. So undeclared name bridge. Oh, but we need to grab the bridge. So here's the thing. We do need to grab the bridge. So we're just gonna use this discover logic. So we'll wrap all of this. We're gonna keep refactoring. All right, so this is gonna get us. We're gonna return nothing and our error. And what I really think we should do here, because we weren't using that Hugo package. I said import. Okay. Okay. So that's going to do that. However, I think that we're probably going to need another abstraction here because we're always going to need this bridge. So I think that what we can do on all of these functions is maybe call like an internal get bridge here. And that can return back a Hugo. This Hugo thing is throwing me off because I'm used to using the actual Hugo. All right, so here's my thought. So if we move all of this up here, right? We're going to try and find the bridge for you. And we're going to return back the bridge or the error. I'm guessing this is going to be nil. And this probably needs to be a pointer to a Hugo bridge. This is what I'm going to guess. Okay. So now we have this discovering. However, here's the other option, and this is why I think we should use this. So if we do bridge, I guess here, bridge dot equals get bridge semicolon. And then if error equals nil, we return back. Oh. Okay. So here's why we're doing this. There is another way of getting a bridge. Wait. What am I missing here? Bridge. There was one for, oh, so there's discover. There's discover all if there's more than one. And then I thought there was getting the bridge. New instantiates and returns a new bridge. New accepts a hostname IP address to the bridge. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. So the thought process is here. We want to do a couple of things. We want to first check to see if, let's call it Hue bridge, is set as an environment variable. Use that if found. If not, discover. But we could be connecting to the wrong bridge. In theory, somebody could have more than one bridge. So we might want to actually not do discover and do a discover all. This would get us back a slice of bridges. And then we might want to check the length of that. If there's only one bridge, we're going to assume that's just what you want to use. If there's more than one, we should probably return back an error and ask you which bridge you want to communicate with. We may need to modify this in the future, though, because there is a possibility that maybe you want to send commands to different bridges, But for now, I'm going to assume that you're controlling devices in one room connected to one bridge. That's sort of where, if it gets more complex than that, then pull requests accepted. Okay, so let's check. If, let's say, bridge host, yeah, we're close enough. We'll just use H. So if the host is set in OS, get env Hue bridge, then let's just check that. If that's set, right, H not equal to empty string. Then we're going to run this logic. We're going to Hugo.new. Wait, I thought that's what it was. Yeah, it is Hugo.new. Then we're going to pass in H. And in theory, that returns back a bridge. Oh, it's just going to return back a bridge. But what if you can't connect to it? That's odd. You'd think it would throw an error, but okay. So that's going to fail on us, so we're going to have to return back no here. So let's make sure that builds. We're good. Now, if not, we now wanted bridges. And we want to discover all. If there's an error, we're going to fail. If the length of bridges, and I can't type, is greater than 1, or let's check this. If it's 0, we need to return. Let's just do it now. So we want to return bumped error F, no Hue bridges found. Oh, we need to return back nil. And then here, if it's greater than 1, we want to return back an error saying that we found more than 1. Which one do you mean? More than 1 Hue bridge discovered. Please specify the bridge using Hue bridge, using the Hue bridge environment variable. And let's, is it %v here? Aaron, help me out here. If I want to put the type in its regular format here, I think it's %v, right? If I do bridges, %. I thought that's the type of the thing and not the value in it. Maybe it's t. We'll try it. So, oh, bridges is a slice of bridges. So we actually need to do this. So let's actually just test that real quick. We're just gonna come up here to the very, very top, and we're gonna return back. That is a really long line. We're just gonna return back a slice of hello world, and we're gonna test this. What's this? Where is begin? How did I come back to this? So I don't know. Is begin rated this? I don't think he's hosting it, so I would assume you came to the channel. But we are working on a bot in Go for Twitch that does a variety of things. Over the past week or so, we've got it changing my voice, changing scenes in OBS, turning off my stream, and we are working on getting it to control all of these colored hue lights. And we've got some of that prototype code working, and now we're working on kind of refactoring this into something that's more usable so that we can get it actually running. Oh, so I was right, it is %V. Must apply username. Oh, that's not going to. We didn't pass that error back. Still, all right, let's. Why you no work? That get bridge should return immediately with an error. Is it not saved? Is create user not being called? I bet you create users not being called. Okay. So here we need a hue create use. We need to call hue create user and pass it args 0. And why are you not finding? What package are you in? You're in package hue. So I guess we're going to need to add that import. This bot needs a way better name because that's not actually our Git repo. So, go Twitch hue. Okay, so now let's try this. Undefined hue. What are you talking about? We are in Eric St. Martin. Go Twitch /hue. That's right. And okay, so syntax error. Unexpected comma, line 11. Where are you? What am I missing? Oh. I'm trying to do JavaScript notation. I'm insane. Okay. Now we have an actual literal. Ooh. Let's see. Line 14, not enough call. And line 14. Oh, that requires the user too. So we're going to need that as well. Let's see. So I think we want like a config somewhere that's not all environment variables. Well, I guess we already know who the user is, right? Wait a second. So in the case of our create user, it looks like to connect to a specific bridge that we need the username. That doesn't make any sense. I think we can pass it an empty string. That's what I think. Because it appeared like before we never logged in, so. Okay, so not enough arguments to return. Line 27. Oh. Nil. And oh, let's change that for now so that this doesn't fail. Invalid argument type bridges for length. Oh. All right, let's finish out this code. All right, so we have our bridges. We're checking. That returns. Oh, okay, so we can just return back bridges 0 there, and that should fix that. Oh, we need the. Ooh. We're gonna leak memory here. So here's the thought. So if we have this slice of bridges that we come back and we pass back the memory address of that one, I believe it's going to hold on to the memory for the entire slice, or for the entire array rather. Very Microsoft of me leaking memory. I've spent my whole career doing open source work. I guess it's Windows memory leaks are rubbing off on me. I'm trying to remember this, and this is just thinking about how the garbage collector works, because what happens is this escapes. So it's quite possible that the memory of all of the other things get cleaned up. It's been a while since I've dug that into the weeds to see how that works. But that brings up a good question. We should look that up. All right. Cannot use error type as type string in return argument on line 37. Oh, because that's the user. There was an error, so we don't have a user. Okay. No such file or oh, because I'm in Hue. All right, more than one Hue bridge. Hello and world. Okay, so that should work. That should give us our individual IP addresses. Exactly what we wanted. That's just my command. So this was in here. We don't need that. That was in, wait. Yeah. So this was indeed V. So that we don't have to kind of format it. So that's going to give us, if there's more than one bridge, we're going to say you must tell us which one of those you mean. And then now that we've removed that error check, or that return error in the very beginning, that means this create user should work. And let's see if it returns. What do we have back here? Okay, so we should be able to, because create user can fail too, right? Create user can fail. So we have user error, and then if error is not, we should be able to just say error creating user, print the error. Otherwise, we're going to return back let's do a printf and say user ID %s created. Please save this to your environment variables. Let's do an environment variable. Okay, and let's actually just hint. We'll say Hue user equals, and we'll just put it in there twice. And then here we'll pass back the user, those will get substituted in. because we're doing a print F, we don't get the new line. So let's go ahead and do that ourselves. And what are you yelling at me for? Oh, we don't need a return. We're just printing. All right, so in theory, this should create a new ID for us and spit it back. It did not. It did not. We didn't return back an error. Did I not pass it back? Oh, error creating user, link not pressed. Oh, because we didn't pass back that. That's that error. What are you complaining about here? Oh. Oh. I mixed that all up. So this is that, and this is error. Okay. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, you keep making dumb mistakes. All right, so this should return back our error from the bridge. Let's see what's going on with this. So, in the discovery, none of that was an issue. So we're returning back bridge is 0. Oh wait, so that's that logic. So now we're calling create user. So interesting. Error creating user, link button not pressed. So this should return back our user or an error, and it does not appear to actually be returning back an error. Why? Now I kind of want to see the code for this because it looks like it's logging its own error, but not returning it. Error creating user. Oh, wait. We didn't return after the error. So, okay. That's our issue. All right, if you give me 2 seconds, I will press the button, and then this should generate us a new UUID. All right, button has been pressed, and boom. There we go. And I don't think we actually want these back ticks because then people will maybe potentially use them that way. But still, okay. That might be a little too verbose. Let's just say user created. And then we don't need all this. Okay, so that's one thing down. Now we know how to get this. Now our next thing is we could add some additional commands here if we wanted to, so that you could say, you know, Hue list bridges, right? We could totally do that. That's going to yell at us because it has no idea what we're talking about. Thanks for the follow, Sade. Okay, so what do you all think? Do we want to go ahead and implement these things in here while we're playing with this stuff? Yeah, let's do that. I think we can implement a couple of commands here. So let's say func list bridges. Then we can have a func list groups. And then we can have a func list lights. We're going to need to do some Godoc stuff in here too. I'm going to make Aaron do all of that, being he's getting out of the refactoring. He gets to do unit tests and Go docs. Okay, so in this particular case, we can just take this. You're too nice, Aaron. You volunteer for this stuff. You're like, okay, I'll do it. You know, you don't have to pull my arm, Eric. Okay, so me too. I am working late into the evenings all week and this weekend and all of that because I was already overloaded with replanning a conference virtually and other work stuff and a new project I'm getting started on that I have to send a bunch of architectural diagrams to leadership on, and then I always commit to new things. Okay, so and I'm renovating my office this weekend. So next week the whole scenery behind me will be different. We'll be kind of facing that way toward my electronics desk. All right, so the next command, let's say list bridges. List bridges. List hue bridges. Okay. And then I guess we already have some logic here for that, don't we? We can just do this. You go discover. Yeah, let's not do that. I like having this abstracted. So we're just going to take this and put it in here. And we want this to return back. This is going to return back a slice. What are you doing here? A slice of strings or an error. And then here we can, let's just do, I don't know. We don't really care about what that is. So we're going to define our slice of strings here. Let's just call it bridges. And then we're going to make and then I prefer to return back an empty slice. So that's what we're going to do there. We don't need var here. And here we're going to we'll call it response, I don't know. And then we're going to range over our list. And then we're going to append this. And the reason we assign it back is just inherently the way slices work. They are really just a struct when you think about them, with a pointer to the underlying array that's storing the data, a value that represents its total capacity, and then it's a value that represents its current length to tell you how far into it we are. So when we append B to bridges, it's going to use the next space and then move length out. And when it eventually runs out of capacity, it's going to allocate an entirely new array, copy everything over so that there's more space, and then change the pointer inside that to point at the new array. So if we don't capture the output of this and there's a new array allocated underneath, then we're never going to see the assignment. We just sort of lose it. Okay, and then if we make it to here, then we can return back bridges and nil. And then let's go to our command. We copied this. We don't need all of this. There are no args. We can just delete all of this. We should be able to just do bridges. List the bridges. And if Aaron is not nil, I'm just going to return back a friendly error. Error. Retrieving list of bridges. We might want to think about using the context later to time these things out. And then if we get that back, now we're going to range over this again. Bridge, range, bridges, and then we're just going to print them out. Okay. Whoa. Okay. So, missing length argument to make string. Oops. We forgot that in here when we decided to make a new slice. We're going to have a 0 length for now. Cannot use B type Hugo bridge as type string and append. Oops, we want B dot. What are the properties of a bridge? A host and a user and its ID. I think we just want the host because that's the thing that matters. Does it have a name? It does not have a name. Okay, yeah. Because the name might have been important. Because I know, like, for the lights, I can name the lights. So it, and the groups. So it's helpful for me to see the lists of them. So we've got that now. Cannot use type Hugo bridge. Oh, I still didn't do it. Dot, what did I say it was? Host. Host. Oh, what are you yelling at me for? Oh, wait, did we not add it? So we have this command here. We did not. So we need to change this to list bridges. Oh, we didn't name it command. This is like a really common thing you see when people are using this Cobra package, is to put the command suffix on there. Okay, perfect. So there's our list of bridges now. And what I'd like to do for all of the stuff that we do is implement command line versions of this so that I can also, you know, go Twitch, Hue, alert group, or maybe group alert, you know, office or something, right? I'd like to introduce commands for that type of stuff so that we can do all of that. Same thing. If you tell me that my robot voice is still on, I'll be able to send a command to undo that and to just sort of test these types of things out. All right, so what else do we have? We wanted to list lights and list groups. And that's really how we're going to operate with everything. So we're just going to copy all this. And we're going to change this. So this is change to, this will be our groups. Guess we don't have much that changes here, huh? Just some variable names, groups. Because we're going to just give a list there of strings, same thing. Okay, so that's that. List lights. This is lights as well. Lights. And the cool thing about implementing all of this way is, hold on, let me fix this because it's going to yell at us. So we want to lights, jump back here, we're gonna call that L. Okay, so we're gonna just go ahead and implement this. It won't take us long. It's basically gonna be, you know, a similar type ordeal. So we're already kind of doing it, right? So this is with a context. Maybe we should just use this anyway, right? Let's just add a to-do. We'll use the non-context version for now. To-do, use context versions so they time out. Okay. So here we're going to return back we're going to make a slice of string again. This time we're not going to forget our length. That's our response. We could do naked returns here too, but I typically like to be explicit about my return values. It can get super confusing sometimes. Okay, so we need to get the bridge. That's right. List lights. All right. All right, now we just need to range over our response here and populate our list of lights. And oh, we need the ID. Ooh. So in this particular instance, we are going to want the ID. I don't want to couple this to that. Let's list the names, because I think the other thing that we can do here, if we want to, is we can create a function to get a light by its ID, where we could go out, if you give us the name of the light, we could go out and map light name to ID. And we could probably do that too for when we do the config where you say which light should I flicker or something like that. You can supply the name and then we'll just create an internal map. I think that'll be fine. So let's just use this for now. We'll change it if we need to. Append our light. And what are you? What is this? Oh, because we didn't set our return. So this is going to be returning a slice of strings and an error. And this is going to be the same thing, slice of string or an error. And then all of this should work except let's replace light with group. Wait. Trailing characters. What are you talking about? This is one of those moments where I want to do Vim-like things, and maybe VS Code's Vim plugin is not exactly. Trailing characters. What are you talking about? There we go. So now we just have to select all this again. Okay, that works. Now in theory, we should build now undefined lights on line 70. What? Oh, cannot use. We wanted the name of the light. Line 89. What are you talking about? Oh, this is... What? Okay, in here we need name. What was the group? What was the result of getting groups? Get groups returns back a group. What's in that name? And a list of lights. So that should work. Why are you not compiling? Undefined G. Oh. Okay. Undefined hue list groups on. Oh. Line 90. Hue list groups command. Okay. So here's the thing I was getting to. So if we do a go Twitch, we automatically get help. Help, what commands do I have? Oh, I have hue and I have server. Okay, well, what about hue help? And this gives us all of our commands. Wait, that's not going to work. But you get the idea. So it's kind of really, really useful to use this package this way because all of this stuff gets generated for you. And when we start putting in all of the long descriptions and things like that, then people can use the help flag to start figuring all that stuff out. So now we should be able to start calling all of these things. We should be able to say hue list bridges. I wonder if there's any autocomplete files for ZSH and Bash generated automatically for Cobra. That would be really helpful. So now let's list our groups. Error retrieving list of groups. Unauthorized user. Right, because we never logged in or authenticated. So we need to fix that. So let's go up here and put our bridge is a pointer to a Hugo bridge. Now, if we try to get the bridge and this is not equal to nil, we're just going to return back that bridge and nil. Okay. Wait, what are you talking about? Undeclared name. Huh? Oh, typo. It's like, what are you talking about? Okay, so that's our pointer. If it's there, we're going to return that back. If not, we're going to go out and get it. And I think for this, we should probably pass the user. I don't like how coupled we are to environment variables here right now. We're going to abstract that out later, because I would much rather have all of this in some sort of config that we pass around so that we can pass it in on the command line or it comes in through our file, things like that, rather than always the environment. For now, I think this will work. So this is, we ask for a specific bridge. We're going to use our hue user. And here we're going to set bridge to the address of bridges 0. And then we need to do a bridge login. And this is where we need to do hue user. And I think this just returns an error if I recall. That's so, then we just return back bridge and error. And what are you talking about? Oh, no new variables. Oh, we need to build this again. Can it use bridge login? Type ubridges, type error in assignment. Wait. Oh no, it returns back the same bridge. It doesn't return an error. Weird. So in that case, we just return this. Oh, that's, oh. This is going to start looking kind of weird. Okay, so we turn back our bridge. That's always going to return that. This is really 0, right? Okay. So in theory that should work. We don't have Hue user set. I do have it in main here. So let's grab that out of there and then we'll put that in. And here's the point where secrets go up and you can't see this. I just have an mvarc file that has this in there. So when I cd into the directory, it will set my environment variables. And the reason I have this up is also in that file is an environment variable that has my Twitch client ID in it. And I don't want any of you messing with that. So I don't trust a single one of you. Not a one. Okay, so that's fair. All right, so if we direnv allow this, we should, yeah, you can see we're not exporting Hue user. So that's in there now. Let's build this again. And ooh, segmentation violation on main.go line 55. That's no bueno. Let's see. So this is in get bridge line 40. What did we blow up on? So we're using, oh, so this must be returning back nil. Why are you returning back nil? And why did that work? Bridge is 0. That should not have compiled. Boom, there we go. There is our list of groups. Ooh, that's not right. What do you mean, what did I change? So this is list groups. This is list groups. Why is that coming back that way? Lights. To make it not panic anymore? Yeah, so it was weird. Here, this was bridge instead of bridges. And bridge should be a pointer to that. I don't even know why it let us index into it. That was kind of odd. Now I have to figure out why both list lights and list group are calling the same thing. So hue list groups, use list hyphen groups, and we're getting a list of groups. Okay. Here we're adding lights group, list group command. Okay, so lights, list lights, list lights. So is our issue in here? List bridges, list group. Oh, that's why. Get groups context. So there's our lights. And there's our groups. And we can delete all of this now. Let's look at temp.go too. I don't think we really need any of this stuff yet. Because we're not really doing anything on private message or join or whisper or anything like that right now. So let's just go ahead and remove that just to start cleaning up our code. So this is starting to look pretty good. I mean, I could use some docs. The one that says this is garbage. Yeah, that was getting the user list through IRC, and for whatever reason, yeah, for whatever reason, it didn't work that way. It was like handing me back like a completely stale list or something like that. Okay, so we already had that. I guess which ones did not have discover? Discover all context and discover context. Okay, so we'll worry about this later because we want to add timeout. I suppose we could do it now while we're here. What could go wrong? I remember that the cache just didn't fill fast enough or something, right? Yeah, from what other people in the channel were saying, that's just an issue that's known with like getting the user list. And I mean, even right now, right? If I open the Twitch chat, oh, I guess I have a list, but sometimes like the user list, even inside Twitch, will say that there's like nobody in here. There's 3 people. Like I regularly notice that the number that's shown on like the website to other people is not the same thing that like I might see inside the user list. Okay. Wow, we hit 4 o'clock already. Wow. So did anybody have any questions so far as we sort of like wrap up this stream? I may stream for a little bit longer, but I want to make sure I address any questions. If anybody has any ideas for things that we want to do. Is there new functionality we want to play with the next time? Or should we just kind of continuing on this cleanup venture? I do want to get to that, to the config thing too. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. Let's see. And I think we're going to have to turn on all of the functionality too at the end. And I guess we could start doing some of this OBS stuff too. We already have the new controller thing, and I think I want to get rid of that too. I think I want to move that up into the package. Sort of the way that we have the hue logic right now, right? When we're using it inside of our command, we're not really retaining a pointer or anything. I think that maybe we should do the same thing to OBS, where right now there's like this whole controller thing, and that's what we pass down into main, and main calls new controller. I don't know whether we want to do that. I think I kind of like the idea of doing the same thing here. We just maintain a client up here, and then any method we call, or even if we call init or connect or something on it, then it does all of that. And I mean, if we wanted to, inside of our main function, we could do an init. I also like the idea that if we don't use it, that it never has to be initialized, right? So if we never call into OBS, or we never execute a hue command, like maybe your bot, you don't even have hue lights. Why should it try to initialize all of that? So I think having, when you execute the first command, it do the initialization. But it also might be good to have it error out, because that would suck too, not knowing that it wasn't connecting until there's kind of an appeal to both approaches, right? But right now we kind of have two diverging theories here. I still think I want to move it there. Let's move it. We're going to take that out. We're going to put that in. Let's just create an obs.go. Okay. And then we're going to need this. We're just going to move some of this stuff over. And I kind of want to pull all of this out. I kind of want to not even make it on like this separate type. That's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on this, Aaron? I kind of am thinking we'd do a similar thing here, where there's this OBS client that sits up top, and then we just have a change scene, and then you call it by doing obs.change scene. That's what it would be called from other packages. And then there's like no notion of creating controllers and nested things. Just hiding away all of the state inside of the package. Because we don't really need to pass this anywhere. Our command logic is just really going to figure out what method it needs to call for its particular action. It's not like we need to take this controller and give it to something else. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, especially as a seasoned gopher. I feel like we all kind of fall into our own ideas of what clean code looks like and doesn't look like. Let's see. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. I guess we could have just named this whole thing obs.go. Let's do that. You go away. Let's delete you. We're going to rename you. Although this might turn into multiple files later as we implement new things. So let's take you, move you up. controller goes away. We need like a func init. I don't know. Connect. Let's do that. Let's just call this connect. And it can return back an error if it fails. Otherwise, we're going to set client equal to that. And something like this is what I'm thinking. Oh, return nil. Same thing. We're going to get rid of this here. And then most of these should stay fairly close to the same. And I might change the way this timer logic is done too. Oh, we don't need to do that. We just need to call enable source filter. Same thing. I went without you, Aaron. You didn't have your time to speak up. Client. All right. Let's see. We need to start coming up with some other fun ideas. I think we need to get it playing media too. And we might be able to borrow some of Begin's code for that as well. And then we'll have to put in like rate limiting and things of that nature too. Okay, so we just refactored all of this stuff out. Now we just sort of have these functions that we call. Hey, Yako, what's going on? Let's see, OBS, 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 OBS. Let's see how much stuff we've broken. It worked. Okay, so now we have, now let's start looking at what we can do here. So this is going to execute the command. So we need to move all of our logic into the server thing. So what we really need now is we need our bot logic. And this is going to be we need to move our, oh wait, we already have the server here. So this logic here is when, yep, I am gophering it up. We are working on a bot written in Go that accepts Twitch commands, that controls OBS, changes the scene, adds effects to my voice, controls like colored lights inside my office. And right now we're kind of on like a refactoring kick to figure out, to kind of clean things up a little bit before we start introducing how do we start making this configurable in a manner where people can introduce their own commands and things like that. Because the past few streams, we've just been doing some gnarly playing with APIs. And so now we need to start cleaning this stuff up a little bit. Yes, I will publish this. So that's kind of the idea here is once I get this cleaned up a little bit where it's something that's actually manageable to work on. Like I said, we've just been, you can see, it's a bunch of straight code going out and hitting things, playing with the APIs. Now we're kind of turning it into a library of sorts that you could reuse. And once that's done, I will put it on GitHub, and everybody can send PRs and use it. And we'll introduce things like adding images on screen, playing sounds. We'll go through the whole list, adding commands where, we can tell our bot. So one of the things I'm working on now is adding subcommands so that right now we need a better name. It's called Go Twitch right now. But so Go Twitch, there's going to be a server command. That's what I'm about to implement. Oh wait, Go Twitch. And this will be the bot running. Right now that doesn't do anything. But we can also get it to do things like Hue is a subcommand. Well, inside Hue, we can say list lights. So in addition to having commands inside of the chat to be able to control the bot, we're building up this whole command thing so that you can use the same command line app to execute the commands yourself or undo things that got done with the bot, to disable functionality if I wanted to disable a command. We're going to go through the whole list. All right, so, that's some of the stuff we should do. So we don't need any of this discovery logic anymore. We don't need this login logic. We don't need to get the group. Oh, we do want to do this. Let's leave this because we want to reset that. The new controller stuff. We do need, we're moving all of this. So all of this actually needs to move out of main. It needs to go into the server logic. And I don't even like the word server anymore. Is it bot? We'll think about it. Dude, that's awesome. You seem very knowledgeable about Go. I am. I've been doing Go for 9 years now. I helped co-author a book on Go, Go in Action. If you're interested in that, if you whisper me, I can send you a copy PDF. Don't tell anybody. I'll take the hit on violating copyright. And I also have organized Gophercon since 2014, so I've been doing Go for quite some time. This process... We're going to move this up to... Yeah, let's... we don't need that const anymore. We're going to have this in all kinds of brokenness, I think, as we end the stream. So let's abstract this out and move that up into our... Why did you not save? Yeah, without a doubt. Just whisper me, remind me, hit me up on Twitter. Any of those places is good. Thanks for the follow, Drutsky. All right, so we don't want to use... We don't want that there either. Let's move this to an environment variable too. We'll just to do that. To do move to environment variable. I think we can also use Cobra to override this too if we want. I've been using Go for a couple of projects now and I'm starting to get the hang of it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I wish I had got into it earlier. I know that seems crazy from somebody who's been using it since 2011, but I looked at it at first and I'm like, oh, it seems all right, but what makes it better than any other language? And it wasn't really till I started writing code with it that I really started falling in love with the language. And now, yeah, it's without a doubt my favorite language. There's still a special place in my heart for like Ruby too. And Rust is starting to grow on me for doing embedded development, but Go is still the thing that I lean on the most. Okay, so we need to OBS. Let's see. I think I'm going to change this from server, but we don't need the controller anymore. There isn't a controller. There's just a connect, and that is hard coded. So let's put a to do there to as well. Don't hard code WebSocket port. I feel like we're going to have a lot of to-dos here. Okay, so now we're going to fatal. I don't even think we want a fatal here. Let's just... and then we'll return. I'm undecided on this because the log messages, yeah, so the log messages are going to give us times and all of that stuff. And in this case, if we're trying to connect, I don't know. It's a very fun language to use. Yeah, it really is. I like writing Go a lot. Okay, so we don't need any of this anymore. We do want to defer the disconnect though, so that we shut down our connection, although I think that's why we were getting those WebSocket errors. So this is all our Twitch logic. Ooh, let's... We're going to change this because we don't really have that controller there anymore. These are going to be hard-coded. So this should mostly work. Do we care about white space? I want to abstract out all this Twitch logic. Ooh, so that's another thing we should do here as well. We need to introduce these color actions into our hue library so we can move those out. And then the only thing that will be left in our server logic will be our Twitch handling, and we might abstract that out as well. And then we might want to do some kind of mapping for these commands to say something. Okay, let's see. This should be pretty quick. So we want to change the hue on a group, and we wanted to flash it. I got a question. When dividing code into packages, I make it so I can be used without the context of the main application. Is this the right way of thinking, or should I split it into internal map before making it generic? So I do the same thing. I try to make my main package do as little as possible. You know, at most it parses command line flags and deals with config files and things like that. But typically my main function is just used for that to bootstrap some other package. And this becomes useful for a couple of reasons. So let's say you had two servers, right? One is a web server that's serving clients, and the other is serving IRC for chat. Let's say it's Twitch. So thanks for the follow, Detlion. So if you do that, then you could theoretically run them in the same binary, right? Your main function could spin up both of those servers in Go routines because they're just libraries in here. And then at some later point, if you wanted to break them out into their own microservices, you could do that. Okay, so what are we missing here? Ooh, we just want... Oh, client connect, right? We're going to build. Expected package span. What? Oh, because I was going to create bot.go there. For now, let's just use server.go. Server's kind of weird, but that's kind of what it is. Maybe let's call it run. Let's call it run. And then this command can be run, and this can be run, and then we need to modify it in root because it was server run command. Okay, that might be a little cleaner. All right, undefined group, run line 68. Wait, what? What you talking about? Oh, that's because this is the logic we need to change. So if we commented out all of this that we need to pull up into our hue library, then this should build. In theory. Now, type Twitch client has no fielder method on private message. What did we break? Undefined Twitch private message. Did we somehow import the old one again? We did. We did. This should be v2. What does our go mod file say? Yeah, we don't want you. Why are you even in there? Okay, now we're building. So now what we need to do is go out of our OBS here. We need to implement some functionality here for our groups. Group change hue. I guess we could probably just call it group hue. Let's just call it group hue. It sounds like somebody swearing at you. So we need a group name. That's going to be a string. And then we know it's an int for the hue. And we're going to pass back an error if it does not work. Let's go into get out of root. We don't need to be in there. Where is here? I mean, it doesn't make sense for other clients to use that package. It's bound to go Twitch. So my question is, shouldn't it be made more clear putting it in? We could put it in an internal folder. That is true. However, the way these libraries are being designed, it's not currently tied to this Go Twitch or whatever we call it. If we look at these, right, they're just wrappers around their actual client libraries, giving us single functions to call. You could, if you wanted to not implement, if you wanted these helpers, you totally could, right? So here's an example. Change scene timed. Well, it's just a wrapper over this WebSocket library that goes out and synchronously gets the current scene, changes the current scene, sleeps for the given duration, and then changes it. So in theory, this could be imported anywhere. There's no ties to Twitch. There's no ties to the bot currently. So it doesn't necessarily have to be internal. Thanks for the follow, Gloomy Pear. Oh, whoa. I think Twitch just like totally lagged out on me. This might be one of those follow bots because I just got, I don't even know how many follows in like a period of seconds. And it's going to keep coming. Well, if there's a group of real followers in that crazy train of follows I just got, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. If it's a bot, then I guess they're doing their thing. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this is just an int. This is going to be our color. This is our hue that we want. And so the first thing we need to do is we need to try to find the group. And in order to do that, we're going to have to come up here and we're going to want to get this list of groups and we're going to want to range over it because we're going to call it by name instead of its ID. So this is, we're cheating here, returning back an error. We're not saving that. So if g.name equals the group name that we passed in, then we are going to, we found our group and we can break this loop. Actually, we're going to return nil here because then what we want to do is return back an error saying that group not found, so that we can tell the caller that that group did not exist. And then here we've got our group. So now we're going to do a group dot hue, and then we're going to pass that in. Actually, this returns an error, I think, so we can just return that. Oh, g dot hue. Message, wait. Message received 8. What does that mean, Rockerboo? Cannot use hue, type int as oh, it's a uint 16. Uint 16. Wow, the follow thing is just, I think it might be lagged. Oh yeah, so on my stream manager, it says that I have 1.3 thousand followers right now. So that definitely was some kind of bot. Okay. I wonder how long it takes Twitch to clean all of that stuff up. Well, the thing for them is that nothing goes in the channel. I mean, I guess we could have some dirty here. Let me... Okay, I just hid the alert box because sometimes they put stuff in there that they want seen on screen or in the chat. So we just hid it for right now. All right, so now we have this setting the group hue, and I guess we would have this same exact logic for doing a group alert, right? It's almost identical. We might think of a way to do this later, but it's a clean wrapper. So alert type, and here, and we're going to pass in the alert type. All right, so in theory now we have all of this. And let's see. So we don't even need all of this logic. And we do need commands though. So let's go ahead and do that because the stream is going to finish up here in just a minute. I wanted to be done by 4:30. Aaron Schlesinger, if he's still here, is going to be doing a Go stream as well over on his channel. So if you want to keep the Go development train rolling, we'll go ahead and raid him once we leave here. I'm going to leave KThanksBye out because I don't know how that works with the raid, and I don't want to do that. So I don't want to mess that up on everybody. So let's see. We need to introduce a new command here, and I guess we'll call this hue alert. We'll come up with better names for these things. So hue alert, we'll go ahead and add a new case statement here and put hue alert, and then hue group alert office. Ooh, the question is, will it grab the right one? And we're gonna make it, oh wait, no, we wanted L. What was the value that we had there? Alert. It's L something. L select. L select. That's what we wanted. So L select here. So there's that. The other thing we could do is let's change the color too. So let's just hue. Oh, hue's weird. Let's just call this one alert, and we'll call this one hue. Hue. We want office, and we want color, and user command. Oh, we don't have parameters yet. Okay, so one of the things I was going to try to do as we finished up here is start introducing. Oh no, we do have args. We do have args. So we could actually change this so that all of these commands we could have OBS scene, right? Or we could have voice deep, right? Why don't we refactor that really quick? I think we could do that fairly quick. I think. If it doesn't crash OBS. Well, no, because this was yelling at us before. So yeah, so in theory, we could have a case voice. You just got GTK to take your theme info. All right, so here's our voice. So in theory now, we should be able to do this. Enable the filter. We're going to leave the microphone hard-coded there. We are going to pass in command args 0. And we're just going to assume that that is meant to be the filter. Options are... actually, let's look at it. Let's see. So then we can bring all of this stuff down, and this would allow us to iterate over. Is there... Go standard library has to have some sort of in array. Because, I mean, I can iterate over, but I swear there's... I mean, one thing we could do is just check for the existence in a map. That's probably the easiest thing to do, but... to do look at source to figure out if filter exists. So we should really do that and complain about it. Get a list of the filters that are available on that source, and then error if we don't actually encounter that. I'm hoping that saying the wrong filter name here won't crash it, but that should now give us that. And then our next thing is now inside of command args 0, we should have a string that represents our value, and we need to do a package str convert, and we need a parse uint here. And this is going to give us back a uint64. So we really need a... let's just copy their sample code here. Okay. So we want to do that. We're going to parse command.args0. Let's actually check the length here because now we require that. So if the length of the args is not equal to 1, we're going to return. We're going to do the same thing for this. because it now requires an argument. So we're just going to, if there, so if it's not nil, so if you give an invalid value, we don't give a crap. We ignore it. It's base 10. Oops. It is base 10. We want 16, but this is going to fail because this is a uint 64. This wants a uint 16. So we are going to convert it. But because we passed this, we should be safe here. Wait, cannot use uint 16 color as string value and argument to hue group. Wait, what? What you talking about? Oh, because this is alert. This is hue, group hue. That's why. Okay. So we're not going to worry about that. And then we should be just running a couple minutes late here. And we build. All right, so everybody, we are going to call it quits for the day. It's about 4:30. We've got some birthday celebrations going on here today. So, and I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I could use a bio break too. So we're going to call it quits for the day. We got a lot of refactoring done. Some of our commands changed. So as always, before we leave, I'm going to let everybody hit this. We've changed out our high, deep, and robot now to voice, and our options here are now high pitch, robot, and deep. But you're going to call this by calling voice robot. All right, and then, but then the other thing we can do is same thing. We can call now alert, and you can call. Oh, you can now also call hue and a color. So 65,000 will be red. Are you ready? Let's do this. Go Twitch, run. And we are connected. Hit me. And K thanks bye is disabled. So, all right. Let me turn on my filters thing here too so that I can see if they're applied. No filters. Hit me, everybody. Is nobody sending commands here? There we go. Deep voice. No? No deep voice? The hue one. Well, yeah, hexadecimal is probably not going to work because we're trying to parse it to an integer. I don't see the voice commands working though. So, what am I missing? Oh, my bad, y'all. So this needs to be hue. This needs to be alert. Get rid of this, get rid of this. Voice. Okay. Let's try this again. Now hit me. Look at you, Rocker Boo. You're trying to pass in all kinds of hex values and stuff like that. I don't know whether that will work with the parse int. I think it's going to expect actual numbers. Did we change the hue? Did we change the hue? Nope, we are not working. Why are we not working? So let's find this out. So we're connected. I can see everybody's chat here on private message. We're going to process command. Process command is switching on it. Where's our list of commands that it checks? All right, so this is where we range over it, parts to lower. So are we not finding it? processing command name. Why are we not working? All right, hit me with some commands here, and let's see whether we're even tripping up against this. Processing command voice. Okay, so we are hitting this. That makes sense. Okay, and somebody give me an alert. So we come up in here, we're processing the command voice. Voice is here. Ooh. So that was alert. So did we forget to do something here? We are connecting to OBS, deferring this. Okay. So this should work. It said we were connected to the WebSocket. So let's see what this is. On run 111. Let's follow this through. So alert is going to call group alert, which is in here, which is going to ask for the list of groups. Oh, but we did not get the bridge. We did not get the bridge. That's our issue. Okay, so before we do anything, because if it's the first thing we run, if it's the very first thing we run, the bridge may not have been selected yet. So now we want to if error. Oh, but we'll be overriding it. Oh, we don't want to do that. Okay, we need to fix this. We need to fix this. So let's find all of our get bridge. No, because get bridge will cache it. That does assign it to bridge. Okay, so that's fine. So list groups, so we do need this. And inside group hue, we need to, if error not equal to nil, return error. Now we're using the correct bridge. Now let's do that for alert. So this should fix that issue. All right, hit me. Give me an alert. Are we blinking? Are we blinking? I don't see it. There we go. So now let's try a color change. Somebody want to hit me with a color? It has to be between 0 and 65, 3, what's the number? So, I don't know, give me like a 32,000. Let's see. That's too high. That's in the 200s. We need less than 65,000, between 0 and 65,000. And okay, so we might have a parse int error. So let's see what that is real quick. Because this likely is not being called. So let's try it. fmt.println error. There could be an issue with parsing. So let's undefined error. Of course it's an undefined error. Let's do it the other way. No. All right. We're going to do it this way. All right, if error not equal to nil, we want to print it because I want to know what it is, and then we want to return early. This notification bell is still going in my ear. Okay. Hit me. Let's see. Let's try and do a hue. Between 0 and 65,000. Did the color change? It doesn't seem to be... It doesn't seem to be complaining. So the question is it finding a different group? Is it finding a different group? Because I have 2 office groups. Because I know we tested this when we gave it a hard-coded value. Is it not finding the name? Ooh. No, because alert works. Alert works because it's the same thing. The same thing. No, that's list. That's hue. Alert gets the groups. We loop over. Yeah, we do the same thing. And we return back a group not found if it's not found. And we should be catching that. Oh, I guess we can do an error. Ah. All right. Yeah, I don't think that's working. It might be an ID issue. So, well, it's getting pretty late here. I gotta get to dinner and all the birthday celebrations. We can finish debugging this. I'll get on tomorrow. We'll work on this. We'll try and finish out this refactoring and figure out what's going on with this particular logic. For now, unless there's any objections, let's all raid Aaron. Thanks everybody for hanging out.